This is Sunday, October 3rd, 1955.
I found the other source, Dr. Henry C. Kemp. Dr. Kemp. Thank you ever so much. Now, I like Dr. don't think to be a big problem. It seems I have to be in that revelation. And it is my choice to pass on you. I think I should say something about it. Right. That means a confirmation of what you just said. Now, first of all, just like this. As he told you, now I have been in attendance. I was 70 years old in those days, 30th September. And all my life, I served just like anybody else. Yes? He told you that I wanted to be an assistant pastor in the Church of God for around 15 years. He told you that, just like the other fellow. I found the things and concepts just like anybody else. And imagination, just like anybody else. See? And I had my concepts and opinions about things, just like everybody else. You see what I mean? Now I want to say this. I don't have nothing to brag about, nothing to boast about, any more so than anybody else. And I want you to know while you're looking at me, you're looking at one fellow in the world that has been just as wrong as anybody else. What's wrong? Now I don't have to stop and try to prove you how wrong I was. You already know. You see what I mean? You know that by yourself. You see? Now, carnal mind just doesn't penetrate the spiritual realm. You see what I mean? And now, since it doesn't, well, then, of course, it's not a spirit. Now, in all my concepts and all my teaching and all my investigations, and I'd like for you to know this, from a little old babe, and my mother used to carry me to Sunday school. And I'd hold on to mother's hand and say, well, son, you going to Sunday school. And, you know, they had them little cards, you know, and all, where they had junior Sunday school lessons on. I used to wonder to myself, well, when is Jesus coming? And everybody was talking about Jesus coming, you know what I'm talking about? And I hope to meet him in Sunday school someday and get acquainted. But everybody was talking about Jesus. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm just showing you a child mind. And I grew up that way. Wanted to know something about God. It just rested in my bones, and I wanted to know. So then, that's how I come to this religion. In the Methodist Church first, then went from the Methodist to the Holiness Church. Now, they said that they were teaching the very most strictest religion there was on earth, as sanctification and holiness. Now, that's what they said, and that's what I believe. And I had that confidence in them. And then they were reading chapters and verses out of the Bible. Now, they're good Bible students. They couldn't commit to them. Just fine. And I went along with them. Got pretty well up in it. Just like you and the present-day religious denomination. You understand what I'm talking about? Now, we've been through all of that. Get the point? Now, there's nothing for us to learn about that. Get the point? But now, what we want to know now, what we are seeking to know now is not so much of what you're teaching out there as somebody's concept. What we want to know now, we want to know about God and the universe in its totality. We want the real thing now. You understand what I'm talking about? Now you have them shooting up in the sky, rockets up in the sky, making an invasion of space and so forth and so on. You understand what I'm talking about? Now, Russia's doing that same thing. Which is an open confession and an admission that they don't know. Right. You get the point? And we're doing the same thing over here in the so-called religious and Christian country, which is the same thing. They don't know. What's your objection then try to find out something for true and reality about it? We don't have to go way up there for the sun, moon, and stars to find out about God. He's as much down here as he is up there. Right. And if it won't work down here, it won't work up there. We have to work up a solution to the problem down here as well as up yonder. You understand what I'm talking about? Somebody said, well, you understand that I'm an atheist. Now, what he just said unconsciously is he's mentally deranged. Now, that's what he said. You see the point? Well, we're free. And another thing he means by that is this. It disagrees with the philosophy taught by Christendom. And when I say Christendom, I narrow it down to Roman Catholicism and Protestantism. Now, Roman Catholics, they claim to be the successors of the apostles. And they hold a repetition, the truth. You understand? And let me tell you something. As Dr. has told you, so far as investigation is trying to find out something about what Roman Catholicism is. Now, we know here. Now, I can't find nothing. Not a thing that they teach us that is right. Nothing. Now, that sounds kind of like somebody wants to throw off something on, don't it? Not so. We don't want to throw off on this. I can't find nothing that's Protestantism teaching right. See, then that automatically then would make me, according to their convictions, that would make me one of the outstanding atheists. See? But I don't believe no parts of it. Get the point? Now, the real truth about it is, there is a God. Now, God is the only atheist exists, because he don't believe there's no other gods outside him himself. Now, if there's a devil, that's the worst God that we can talk about. You understand? We can't talk about nothing any worse than the devil. Is that right? Right. Now, the devil himself, he believes in God and he's scared and trembles. Right. You see what I mean? Now, there's no way you be any worse than he is. See, we won't allow nobody to take advantage of it here. Get the point? Yes, he knows that. Open your book to the 8th chapter of St. John in the 44th verse. Ye are of your father the devil. Now, this is Jesus talking to the Jews or to the Hebrews. Now, I'll tell you the truth about that, that wasn't Jesus. See what the investigation does? Now, this Bible has been interpolated. It definitely and positively is not Jesus Christ. Well, somebody said, well, no, I'm not talking about you please all your life. We're talking about the truth about it now. It's one that you find out when you come down here. See what investigation does? See how it shows you up? That ought to be something for you to learn today, but you don't never get no further. You learn something about that. You understand what I'm saying? But somebody said, well, now you don't, I don't believe that. Well, why don't you go on to investigate? What are you going to do? Just go on stupid all your life? Because I said, well, my mother and my father, they died in the fan, you understand? And if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Well, I don't know about that. Well, a lot of people died with the wrong confession. See? Is that right? Right. It's on. Now, down here, what we have taught you is this. Well, let me tell you about this first. Let me tell you about JUSTUS CHRISTUS. Now, if you know anything about history at all, you understand? If you know anything about it, you know that comes from India. And it's still going on over in India. Right. See? And even in the book, I don't know whether we've got one here or not. In the book, I showed you where, and there's been a lot of research done, and you won't find one Jew in the world that believes in Jesus Christ. He rather die the death of an outcast dog. The patients have been trying to choke it down their throat, and the patients themselves know. Go to the Vatican and investigate for the second revelation. To them. That they know that. You see what I'm saying? That is not his name. The scriptures don't teach that that's his name. Now here's the book. We wrote this book. Be nice if you get into it and try to learn something. Yeah. Real nice. See? Now here's it. Read. Here's a whole article wrote up on it. See? 4 or 5 pages in here. And here's the research that's been done on it. See, and right over here is JUSTUS CHRISTUS, an island. Translated down into your language, Jesus Christ. There's a Hindu sun god from India. See? Like it's placed in your Bible. But people, they don't stop to look up nothing. They don't understand. They just go right on with their dogmatic creeds and whatnot. The papacy itself knows better than that. What did they say about it? Saying that men are locked in and robbing the world. Now it's correct name. You have it in your Bible. You have it back over in the old one, too. You see, Paul? David spoke of it a lot. Look at the first chapter of Matthew. 7 chapters are in 14th verse. I'm going to hurry on now, too. But while I try to speak fast, I want you to try to keep up with it. And that's the reason why I try my best to tell you this truth concerns everybody. Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? And we don't have no little circumscribed doctrine that's taught by somebody. 13th verse.
Therefore, the God himself shall give
Therefore, the true God himself, the Lord himself,
shall give you a sign.
shall give you a sign. That almost throws up into something else. From 2 ways. First, the Torah, which is the law, and the prophets. We said to the law and to the testimony, they speak not according to this verse because there's no like that. Right?
Right.
Now when you go to that, he restated Moses, wrote the Torah out of Pentateuch. You understand? Restated Moses. That's suppose somebody won't believe that. Then what do you do? You see what I mean? What do you do? See, now the Torah, or the Pentateuch, was the first and original writings of Moses. Now, we don't have that other long chart here to show you. But on that long chart, we have there a man standing up in conjunction in relation to this. Here's Babylon, Media, Grecia, Persia, and Rome. Right? We talk about the Babylonian captivity. The Babylonians overthrown by the Medes and Persians. The Medes and Persians overthrown by the Greeks. Now I want you to see what I'm talking about. Now down in Alexandria, Egypt, they made a new translation of the Bible, of the Torah, or the Pentateuch. What did they do that for? Because as it comes down, you understand, the Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome, and then the Jews and the Hebrews. See, they were in captivity. They in dispersed Mesopotamia, Media, and Assyria, 10 tribes of them. Is that right? 32 tribes, which is actually called one tribe, and that's the tribe of Judah and also the tribe of Levi. You understand? 7 tribes. And then rain up out there, just like you are around in the United States of America. You learn to speak the English language. And so they, you understand, learn to speak the Greek language. Therefore, the translation from the Hebrew to the Greek was made. See? You understand what I'm saying? That's right. In Alexandria, Egypt. You see? Now, what you have in your Bible, forget it all. See, it's a translation. It's Greek terminology. See? Now, there was no other translation made between that time and the time that Messiah was born. You see? So a lot of the expression that you have there is Greek. Translated over into the Greek from the Hebrew. Now, when we want to really know something about it, we go on down and investigate Hebrew, Greek, Latin, everything you can think of. And what he just read there, the reason why I called your attention to it is this. See, now it says over there, they translate it, that the Lord himself, see, shall give you a sign. Is that right? Well, now that wasn't where Isaiah said. You understand? Yahweh, that's the give you a sign. God is a title. Yahweh is a name. Joshua is president. That's how you see the president. The name is Lyndon B. Johnson. You see what I mean? All right. Now, see, when it translates, it's all. See? Just see it. That's right? These, behold a virgin shall conceive, and bear a son, and shall call his name Immanuel. Huh? What you say? Shall call his name Immanuel. Now, don't you see, I didn't say that. Now, what I'm doing now is investigating the divine authenticity, the accuracy and infallibility of the Scriptures. To find out what this is so or not. Paul's contention was this. That all Scripture told Timothy, all Scripture is given by the inspiration of God. That's right? What for correction? For instruction? What's all that for? So that the man that is of Yahweh or God might be perfect. Not an idiot. You understand? Not a skeptic. Yes, boy? That's all good, brother. When you know something about the good work, you got to know something about the bad work. You get acquainted with God as He really is, why you got to have some acquaintance with the devil too. Yeah. You see what I'm talking about? You got to start that thing out. Now, when that gullible down, the virgin shall conceive and bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Immanuel. Now, when you go through here and look at the names, like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, and you understand? It's like, those names signify something. All right. You understand? The name itself. Yeah. Moses, drawn out. You understand? Yes. Vowels, symbols in the Hebrew language. It means something. Okay? Now you read Isaiah 7:14, didn't you? A virgin shall conceive and bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Immanuel. Well, now listen here. When you read that with me, now I'd investigate that. Right there. I want to know where that was getting right. How am I going to investigate that? By the Scripture. Why should a virgin conceive and bring forth a son? Just one boy, what's it all about? You see the boy? You understand? Yeah, now yap. We believe this and we believe that. It's not that way down here. Now, he told you that all Scripture comes by the inspiration of God. Now, then you want to know what the inspiration of God is. And notice that the Moses have written the Pentateuch and Torah. And I don't think he's any better alive than anybody else. You get overtook somewhere, ain't that right? If he makes any mistakes, if it didn't come from God, we found out about it, ain't that right? We'll investigate. You understand? Isaiah, they say he's a prophet. You understand? They said Malachi, they said Jeremiah, and we even got down to the place what we call major and minor. Now, there's no such thing as no major and minor prophet. See, if it was God all the time, and with God speaking through one of these men, God said what he wanted to say, whether it was much or little. And that's the way it is. You get the point? Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, this virgin conceived and bring forth the son. Now, what I have to do then, I have to go way on back to investigate and find out about this virgin conceived and bring forth the son. And why did Yahweh decide to do it this way? That is 50 young. Now, Moses, he said too, over there in Deuteronomy. Are you listening? A prophet shall the Lord thy God raise up unto thee like unto me. Him shall you hear. Now, we'll pay no attention to that if Isaiah hadn't said what he said. Now, we'll pay no attention to what Isaiah said unless Moses said something. Because all of it is supposed to be coming direct. You understand? From Yahweh, the God of the universe. You understand what I mean? In other words, the law and the prophet, one must confirm the other. They are the two witnesses there. If one don't confirm the other, there's something wrong. See? Now, Moses said that in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. Now, you can go right down at the library. Got great big, this is a great big fish. Go to New York and go in the library. Go anywhere you want to. Go in the library. Go to Jerusalem if you want to. It don't make no difference where you go. See, you won't find none of the books, scientifically nor otherwise, that's been able to prove the origin of the universe. Now, you read my page, you begin to tell me about prehistoric stuff. You tell me you're a scientist. You talk to me about prehistoric. See? Then you think it's smart to go down in the reptilian age and talk to me about the dinosaurs and the big massive that roamed the face of the earth in those days. Prehistoric, meaning this, before anybody kept any records of it. What the dinosaurs and the big massive that roamed the face of the earth in those days. Prehistoric, meaning this, before anybody kept any records of anything. Then you run out and you dive down in the core of the earth. You tell me you're a geologist. See? And you tell me about the different masses of the formation of dirt on rock. You understand? And then you count how long it takes for that mass dirt, you understand, to crystallize and to the rings and all that rocks. And you tell me just about how many years it takes. That's geological research. See? Then you go out there and you cut down some of the trees and you say the rings around in the tree. See, we know what it's all about, too. Determine the age of the tree. You say your jaw, right? Right? You see what I mean? Now you say this is prehistoric. See? Before the Jews before any records were set, none of the age of the Egyptians came. You got records before the Jews wrote. You understand? You go on back now, you see, and you try to trace it on back. See? And you're bringing ideas. See? Get the point? You think that sounds smart. You think you're outstanding. See? Well, look here. Genesis. Moses is supposed to be writing. Are you listening? He is writing about the one that created the universe. He's writing about what was created. In other words, he's writing history. See, that covers the dinosaurs and everything else. See? There ain't anything prehistoric. You see what I mean? He's talking about the creator and the creation. He's writing the history. Now, it said, all scripture done by the inspiration of God to take the apostle. Isn't that right? Then Moses up there seeing a vision. Up there in the mountain, seeing a vision. Mind transformed us, elevated on into the eternal realm. Well, that cloud covers the mountain 6 solar days. That's just one rising of the sun and staying to the earth. You understand? And God, Yahweh, is giving him a vision. Way past Adam. You see what I'm talking about? And what he's doing is just writing down what he saw in the vision. And he said, in the beginning of the vision. No, in the beginning of the vision. That's fine. Say what happened first in the beginning of the vision. Not the beginning of creation. You see now? Right. Now, if I jump just like Chris. Now, if you want to tell me that God is the creator of everything, animate and inanimate, every object, everything is in everybody. Now, here you run at my face, you want to tell me that Moses was right there looking at him. Moses was co-eternal with God. Well, we have to learn all these things out there. So it's Moses now. After the creation that takes place. God created the creator, followed him up into the top of the mountain, hanging out by the cloud covers the mountain. 6 solar days. And I have you to know that God did not create the universe in those 6 days. Right. Somebody said, well, let me see how you read them. The 20th chapter of Exodus saying. Remember the Sabbath day on 6 days God created the heaven and earth? What's the matter with you, man? So you don't believe in the Bible? No, God did not create the universe in those 6 days. I can show you that. You see? Now, let me show you that. See, if God created the universe in 6 days, listen, the day would have to be there first. For God to create something in the day. Now, the sun was supposed to rule the day and the moon the night. According to the record, is that right? You understand? Well, if the sun is supposed to rule the day, then you have to have a sun out there to give some light to call it a day. Trying to create something here. Now you tell me that God created heaven and earth in 6 days. Now who created the day? Trying to create what's in the day. Now you get out off that stupidity when you come down here. See the point? Well, we didn't say you wasn't a good, well-read Bible student. You understand? I'd say the flood had done took place, and Moses was raised down from the flood. You understand? Then some of the advanced theologians, they say that Adam couldn't write the history of the creation of heaven and earth. Well, why? Why could Adam write it? Well, he didn't know what took place 5 days before he was created himself. Could he? Answer me. Well, if he's disqualified on that, if he can't write it because he don't know what took place 5 days before he was created, then how is Moses going to write it? Well, 513 years from the Garden of Eden. Now, how is Moses going to write it? You disqualified Adam. When you said he was created on the 6th day, he couldn't tell you nothing about it. You understand? He said, well, God did on the 6th day, he made the man down there. You see what I'm talking about? You won't let him write about what's back there because he wasn't created. You see? See how you get up against it? Now, these things they can't answer out there in prison. Then Moses says Adam couldn't write it because he didn't know what took place 5 days before he was created. Then how do you think Moses way down here could write the history of the creation of heaven and earth? What are you talking about, man? I'm talking about a fellow, a person shall conceive and bring forth a son, and God will call his name man. That's what I'm talking about. Now, no, up in this mountain, up in Mount Sinai, the cloud that brought Israel out of Egypt, lifted over the top of Mount Sinai. God spoke the commandments. Yahweh spoke the commandments from Mount Sinai. Then afterwards he called Moses, Ahab, the Bible, and 70 elders up into the mountain. Now listen. Now it's always somebody standing out talking about this. You know, I don't believe in ghosts. Yeah, I guess not. Because you don't know nothing about it, though. For the most part. You understand? You see? Then, when he called him up there, then he saw this pure stick, which was inconceivable, incomprehensible, inscrutable. You understand? Say, how incorporeal. Now, that means it's not physical. See? And there's nothing in this shape and form that isn't in this. This is draws the lines of demarcation in that. And there's anything in this that isn't in that. You see? And Israel saw this ghost. That's what the Holy Ghost is. Not ghost like that is the ghost. In shape and form. Now that's Yahweh. That's Yahshua. That's the Lord. In shape and form. You see what I mean? Now first, you have to see that. Have to see that before you see anything. Right? 7 years had to see that shape and that form of that before they saw anything else. See the point now? That's number one, the first. See? Now look, you don't just go to work and stay there. You understand? You don't go to work and stay there. You have to have some proof. And Moses said there, that in that vision that he saw, and that them elders saw too. They come back down. Moses and Joshua stayed in the mountain. And Moses entered into the midst of the cloud. You understand? And there he saw. During the time that that cloud hung over that mountain, those are the 6 solar days that Moses saw in a vision. Now that's almost the drag me up to a place where I have to show you something else. He saw him create in that vision. During them 6 days that cloud hung over the top of the mountain. He saw in that vision. And he said in the beginning of what's written off, the beginning of the vision. In the beginning of the vision, he said, Yahweh created the heaven and earth. Now, you listen? That Yahweh, God, created the heaven and the earth. Now, you listen? And the earth was without shape and form. Is that right? It was without shape and form. I said Yahweh created the heavens and the earth. And the earth without shape and form. God is from the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was upon the water. God said, that had to be right in there was now. The evening and the morning was the first day. That's what Moses saw, the first day. Then he was in that cloud. You understand? Saw this, a rerun of the creation. See? And the earth was without form. Is that right? Right. God was upon the face of the deep. Is that right? Right. God designed the light and the dark. What did you do that for? You see, so well, he's creating by himself. He is God by himself. But if this tabernacle here, which is transformed and transfigured into this, if it was threefold, then so also is it. Bring him, I told you, bring all the things of God down in the truth. You understand? Moses said, then they saw it. They saw this in what they saw this thing, they saw this, that. And God said to make sure, Moses, that you make all things according to the pattern shown in the mountain. That's all because the figure of heaven and things. Hebrews 9:7. Is that right? Now, if you move that thing out of order, then you've got the whole scheme of things all messed up again. You understand? Now, that tabernacle was threefold. See? It had a, so you can see. I was getting money just on what else you would hate. See, it had a most holy place in the tabernacle. It had a holy place in the tabernacle. And he had a quarter line back. Now, that's what he saw in the vision. Now, this is supposed to be a figure of tabernacle, a figure of everything in existence. Everything God used. So then it's that these divisions of most holy places divided from the holy place. You understand? Yeah. Understand? And Yahweh is the archetype pattern. You understand? You hear me now? Then every animate and inanimate object in the universe got to fit the pattern. So therefore, Adam's got to fit the pattern. And Adam, over in Russia, don't make no difference where it is, who cares? All you find in an atom. There's a proton, a neutron. That's the neutralizer. See, now it comes to neutralize it. Word was made first and transformed. Come on, back. You see? You understand? Neutralize it. You understand? Yahweh. You understand? The Father. The Word. And what we know. You see that now? And these three are one. One heart, one Godhead. Just like a proton, neutron, electron is one atom. Just like God told Noah to build an ark. I'm not going to build a second a lower deck, a middle deck, and a upper deck. You understand? You see that? What do you think they like that for? Oh, that's who they talk. You see what I mean? You see that now? What are you talking about? I'm talking about this name. I'm talking about the person that's eating and right for the whoever told his name. Emmanuel. Now that's what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? Now you follow? Are you able to follow the concept of the stars? You know, I'm not going to go through and find out what it's for now. Now that's what I'm doing. Now, he says that God divided the light from dark. But don't you see, all I have to do is look at the tabernacle and see the structure, and then run it all the way through, and I can see then my God divides the light from the dark, because no supposed to the light from that. You understand? And now I can see each day why he divides this and that and that. Each day, he divides there, he gives the outside side. You see that now? Here comes Paul again. First chapter of Romans, going first. Listen. For the invisible things of him, from the creation of the Word, early creed, no mistake, he is understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and glory. You see that now? The invisible thing you can't see with your invisible things. Still real clear. No need of stumbling and running around. I don't care that's about the translation. You understand? The mistranslations and the interpolations. You see what I mean? You got that God made out there. There are many mistranslations in it. Heaven, so forth. Is that right? The first. You understand? The Messiah said to Nicodemus, one of the scholarly, educated boys of the Sanhedrin council of scribes. Said, if I tell you about the things and you don't understand them, don't have no way to say you got spiritual faith. You understand? He was talking to him about being born again. But Nicodemus didn't understand spiritual faith. He had no faith. Understand for a spiritual faith. Okay? So, birds shall conceive, you understand? They can even know that. You understand that? You see it now? Right. Not only that, in this beast, Moses said, now listen, are you listening? That in this beast, he said, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth, and the earth was without form. Remember I told you that he took on shape and form before he began to create. And before that, it was without shape and form. Spirit, you don't have no describable way to describe and draw it in line with or mark of delineation between the spirit and matter, you understand? Right. That's the reason why the so-called smart folks of today, you understand? Always got to be somebody who's, outstanding. They we call ourselves modern philosophical psychologists, psychological religions, you understand? And we're talking about the universal mind. See? And it's connected to join with the subconscious mind. You understand? And being second, then you have the conscious mind. You see? You want to join and relate to the other. But then look at way the separating the lines. How you look at the line that's supposed to tell me the difference between the universal mind and the subconscious mind? Now, if you can't tell me, then just forget it. Just get up. You see? How are you going to draw a line of distinction between light and darkness? See? When it just remains, did you understand? And anybody knows anything about that little God. Understand? When that high priest walks once a year into the most holy place, that's once a year. See, and that's there. That's just put tag over that there. You understand? Take the top like you couldn't get. You know what I mean? It's just done that quick. You couldn't take it yourself. Do you see what I'm talking about? All right, now you said the earth was without form. Now remember, God is the Father. Mother Earth, she's without any shape and without any form, say. Is that right? Mother Earth. Is that right? Right. Moses took his shape no form. Moses said his spirit got here first. Invisible. Is that right? Right? And then it begins to take on shape and form. Presentation and animal life. Is that right? Yeah. See, you can't argue. You just up against it. You just up against it. Now that's all we need for that. See, there ain't no need to run down and say, well, we don't tell us about that. You do it all down here. You see what I mean? What are you there? Now that's the way the earth was. See, now he created the earth, and that's the way it's created in the vision. Now that's the way the earth. Then it began to take on shape and form. Is that right? So matter then, it says, matter then was presented to Moses. And it's amalgamated. And it is conglomerated. It's a pouring mass of matter. You understand? An amalgamation of atoms. You understand? Without any descriptive shape or form. That's the earth. And then it begins to take on shape and form. You understand? That's Mother Earth. She's in a virtual state. Before anything, any sin was ever committed upon. Yahweh is the Father. You understand? And he's bringing them out of the room and vows of Mother Earth. Shape and form, everything. And the earth appears that way. The invisible is understood by the visible. So matter was produced in it without shape and form. You see that now? Yeah. Then it begins to take on shape and form. You see that now? Now listen, I'm asking something. That's Mother Earth. That's God. Mother Earth. You know, versus space, bringing forth those things of shape and form. You understand? And everything that was there. Every animal. And so-called, there is no such thing as an. So every so-called inanimate object in the universe has to reflect that God is in nature. That's why you can't find nothing but a reflection in all nature. For the invisible is understood from the visible. And the way that was produced, you understand, God, you understand, then he had to produce a man. Then take the woman out of the man. You understand? Get the point? Because that's a masculine and feminine attribute. Okay? United into an embodiment. And this is the first and everything together and everything. And you're going to make a fully top-headed in the earth. You understand? So then you have to reach down there and form the man. It's not because you can go back and put up some mud and fix up the woman just like you did the man, but can't do it that way. Got to take the woman out of the man. You understand? That's Mother Earth. You understand? Now here you come. You looking from over there. And you're in your smart prayer. The text of divinity, the divine authenticity, the accuracy, and the infallibility of strength. And whether it's just whether things come from God or not. You see what I mean? Here you and your wife. And you know Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you sure you're listening? The reason why I ask you that is because you haven't been listening. The word out there. You don't know about it. Don't forget to put it to the 30 seconds. So the masculine and feminine somatic fluid that's secreted or generated in the human body. You don't have to try to mix up none of it. See? And insert it into the womb of the female. And it's without any particular description, shape, or form. Just like somebody else to read that word. God. You see what I mean? Nowadays, it's better. Almost it's not good, infected into the womb of the female. You understand? And then it begins to take on shape and form. A child form in that. You understand? And as soon as the way goes like that, God is creating, bringing forth matter that way. So we first feel it. Then I will have to think. You see what I mean? God will call his name Immanuel. Do you see it now? Moses had to say a prophet to the Lord thy God laid up unto thee, back unto thee, and tell you here. Yeah. So you want to got to confirm the other. You see? And thou shalt call his name Immanuel. Remember I told you that all them names, that's significant. Now, I had you to read the 7th chapter of Isaiah and the 14th verse, didn't I? Now I want you to read the 1st chapter of Matthew, in the 21st verse. Read it quick.
And she shall bring forth his son.
And she shall bring forth his son. Now, Matthew talking about what's over there in Isaiah. All right, read.
Thou shalt call his name Jesus.
Yes, no. Read on.
For he shall save his people from their sins.
Read on.
Now all this was done.
Now, this is about Immanuel, right there.
Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled.
All this was done that it might be fulfilled. So now you watch.
Which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, who shall bring forth a son. They shall call his name Immanuel.
See, and they shall call his name Immanuel. See? Well, that's what Isaiah said, Immanuel. You see? Now they put Jesus in there. Something wrong in there. Now what's the meaning of the name Immanuel? Read. No, which by interpretation, just like Moses means drawn out. You understand? See? Drawn out of what? He was drawn out of the water. He was drawn out of the line. What it says. Yeah. So, you see what it's talking about? He must be drawn out. See? You understand? And his name must be Immanuel, which is by interpretation. What? God with us. You say, Yahweh incarnated in that body. You understand? God with us. God walking around in a physical body. Has never been understood. See, it looks like it's some of the whole body and strength, and don't that make one Jerusalem? Don't make 3 Jerusalems, does it? Makes one God, which by interpretation means God with us. You understand? God was in the tabernacle. You understand? This is the temple, not the tabernacle. You understand? Right. Paul said, God was in Christ. I'm trying to give it to you so you know. Yeah, God was Immanuel. Don't the prophets say, which is by interpretation, Immanuel with us, not in the sky anymore, so he is down here. Now you're searching and looking for God. Now man is made in the likeness and image of God. God has been made, he has God. Is that right? God is the breeze and so forth and so on. Is that right? Come out and practice that. And now he says, when you got this stuff, see, now he's supposed to smart. So the man of God. So all the people that the scriptures and the what have. You see what I mean? Just as qualified as any of the rest of them. Yeah. From the school and learn. So a man is made in the likeness and image of God. Is that right? Right. And you don't know nothing about yourself. Then what could you know about God? Yeah. You know that man got 206 bones in his body, so say the mental state, so forth and so on. Ain't that right? If somebody jumps up here and says, well, look here. If the woman was taken from the man, she ought to be short. She ought to be short. There's one rib, 11 on one side and 12 on the other. Or the absentee is of that bone. Now you go ask the orthopedic specialist at the bone specialist. Go ask him. You understand? The rib is the only bone in the body that will grow out. But don't you try that on your leg. You do, you have to go to the hardware store. That's right. You see what I mean? But that's the only one that will go out. And all the bones you got in your body. I wonder why that. Because when you got to get back in the man. Yeah. So then that's the purpose of God. You get all that believe in this and all that believe in this. Into Immanuel. That's what it says. That's where they all come out. Yeah. That's where they all go back to. Colossians 1:16. Read it. See, now I'm down inside too. And nobody in their way is so smart until they don't need to talk. But now, he is the image. Now, man is made in the likeness of image. So now he's in the image. The man is in the image. Is that right? Of the invisible God. Read. Now look, he's the firstborn. Let me get after that. Try to see that means out here. Now, that Paul said that, wasn't it? Yeah. Let's see down and read it. Revelation 3:14, Revelation 3:14. And then let's see if this agrees with what we just said here. We're investigating, we're searching. This is a research argument. This is an investigation. Revelation 3:14. Read. And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans, write. Now you write this. What do you write? What is soul? Yes. Read. These things saith the Amen. The faithful and true witness. Jesus said, we speak that we do know and testify to that which we have seen. Now you Jews, you have never seen his gate and you have never had his bar. So the first thing you do is put up and down with all these tribes and Pharisees. I proceeded and come forth from the Father. And I go back to the Father since I came. So, now let me tell you that. Then there is, he takes on his form. That's the function. That's an incorporated. See? Understand? Moses saw him in the vision. Is that right? Then you have to come down here into the physical earth. And in this physical earth, he's called Immanuel, which is by interpretation, God with us. You see? You see it now? Now listen, 17th chapter of John. Believe me, that I am in the Father. There he is, in the Father, in the Father, in the Father. My Father is greater than I am. This is his own, that's the consciousness, that line of you. My Father is greater than I am. But believe me, that I'm in my Father. And believe me, that my Father is in me. Now, if you don't want to take my right part, it's not right. You don't want to take it that way. You understand? Please be still in the waves and the water. You know good well. I don't care how scientific you is. See what I mean? You can't hold no wind in your fear. You see what I mean? That boy's laying out there in that book. Ain't that right? That Timothy and Brady just about to be going on. And they went to it and they said, hey, up here! Teach you a know or something on the understand? Help out here! Don't you see? Don't you care whether we perish or not? Don't make no difference you laying up there sleeping. It's written, do something. You see what I mean? Oh, that's good. So we're all going to get grounded. You see what I mean? And he walked out. See? Just said, please be still. Just calm down. You see? They said, well, what manner of man is this? You understand that Yahweh is not at all. That's the story. Please, you see what I mean? Right. No, the Spirit of God moves upon the dark sun to face the people. The Spirit of God moves upon the face of the water. Is that right? God. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it comes. The Spirit of God is walking on the water tonight. Say, get the point. And big looked out at him on his hard bill. You see what I'm talking about? That's God. You understand what I'm talking about? Now the folks have one on his thing nothing about. That's the reason why Christian Jews can't get together. It's because they don't know nothing about it. Not able to prove nothing. Well, that's what we'll throw down here. So I didn't want to get too long. So that's all the studies that you took. Is that right? You got a head there, it's formed in the womb. Is that right? You see you got in matter here, shaping form taking place. Is that right? You got it in the masculine and feminine. Is that right? You got it in the material world. You understand? Now nobody don't give a hoot about where you come from. That's the way it is. Now listen. The head is formed first. And he told you in the great detail. You understand? Which is the masculine and feminine attributes united into one body. Is that right? Knowledge, will, intelligence, the power. You understand? That's the three. They're united into one. Okay, I'm talking about that. Knowledge. You understand? Transferred down into the root. Here is formed first. See? Now don't think nobody ask you what college you went to. That's where it is. And from that emanates the rest of the life. Another reality case. Is that right? So on down. Is that right? Now Now, clearly they're telling you. You understand that Jesus kept the Lord aside and he's on the prepare place for. And he's coming back and get us and take us off somewhere with a brother, son, who's tired, ain't that right? And now you don't see nobody sprouting on wings, do you? Well, we just don't understand what it's all about. So you ought to be in heaven now. If you know what if you know anything about what heaven is. You're in your carnal mind, your imagination, and all that kind of stuff. Now, Jesus said down there talking to Nicodemus. There's no man who said, well, I thought Jesus was translated. Understand? He walked with God, and God took him, and he just was not. Translated, I see in there. But that's in the hand delusion. And in the post delusion, it's got to be verified and confirmed. So Elijah, he ascended in a chariot fire. He flew back this man on the left. You say, is that right? And so he translated, he carried it. See, and here comes this liar out of the papers over here. You understand what I'm talking about? They said they just happened to get around 1948, you know what I mean? 1948, somewhere around there. I don't know. That's good. Profiles the liar back. But you mean to tell me you speak that way about the whole Bible? That's why you just say you can take it. Now that man been standing down and sitting down that church. You see? Now you read the first chapter, you read through without correction in the scriptures. You understand? Without chastising them, scripture, then you're back and not. That's not right. You see? Now he refused to chastise them. You understand? That's the reason why I say you lie. That's why I wrote this down in 44. Jesus said that. That's what he said that. And 844 said the devil was a liar, right? So his words get so. You understand? And I told you, you can't find no truth at all. In the Roman Catholic Church, none whatsoever. There's none that. You see what I mean? There's nothing else but just a bunch of ignorance and liars. Satanic spirits incarnated in physical body. Yes. And then here comes the so-called Protestant word. And that is to say, now that makes a bad fellow out of you. Somebody said, well, you don't believe in that? I said, no, man, I know. So you're the unbeliever. No, I'm the one that believes. That's right. I believe it's just like God is. Yes. They don't. That's right. They're always kind of picked up a place to get themselves in it. Get their own stock promoted. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm talking about his elevation to the throne. You understand? His promotion. And here the other day, you understand, just to show you how Slido's back is. See? Knowing what goes on down south, knows about the... See? Knowing what goes on down south, knows about the segregation, you understand, it goes on down south. You understand the discrimination because of the blacks and the whites down there. You understand? Well, maybe I better go back to that a little bit and show you all the ways up and have at least that's a part of it. See, he knows that the Constitution of this so-called state, he knows, and all the American cardinals know that the Constitution of the United States doesn't fall for religious freedom. Right? Is that right? And now they have a statutory male count. You understand? If you're religious freedom, they claim farmers. Pope Pius XII said religious freedom is an anarchy. Every soul should be subject to the Pope. Every soul should hear it and submit to it. His word is final. That's right. That's right. You see what I mean? They've been going around talking about transubstantiation. What do you mean by transubstantiation? Well, I mean this. They're going around telling people when they stand up and pray over some crackers and some grape juice, they got changes into their actual body and blood of Jesus. Right now, you can't lie no worse than that. That's right. Now here comes along the Protestants. They say, no, we disagree with transubstantiation. That we believe in transubstantiation. That means it's a type and a shadow. Well, we don't want no types and shadows. Reflect. Done with that. You understand? Now here they come up to the middle council and say, well, we're not so sure whether it's transubstantiation or not. We're seeing for us like it ought to be transfiguration. Then you stupid have been saying that for long and many years. Just telling you just doubts about it all the time. You're lying about it. He comes up with this down. Sure. Been sitting around 1,000 years. They see. Right. That's right. Those with confessing that they don't know what it's all about. Right? Yeah. Now when they get ready to come over here, they think the United States is one of the greatest countries in the world. And they know that the Constitution of the United States stands for religious liberty and freedom. Nobody is supposed to be in an ecclesiastical body to nobody. Nobody on earth. You understand? You get these jumps up. The first thing they put to the council, the ecumenical council around there, and they passed on the document of religious liberty. And all the American parliaments, you understand? They went against the Roman Curie down there. You understand? And they voted that religious liberty, religious freedom was decided. That is terrible. I always back to that, get that thing fixed before I come over here. Before the 24 days. You say that the student of the church and you haven't got this nothing to see it. Yeah. 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 See? You know better than that all the time. But it's a lie right from the beginning. Is that right? You know what's going on down south. I'm back now to where I was going to say, I'm back there. See? Something else maybe we better get straight. And you know as well as I do, if you go back into history, you won't find Negroes in the Roman Catholic Church centuries ago. Not the first Negro. No. No good. You come and bring me some. Don't you come up here with that guy and help me. You understand? So they went to work and they made a figure, made a child out of an African Negro. He's showing his humiliation. He's showing his authority. He's showing that he's breaking down religious segregation. See? By having that Negro party. And he appears at the Vatican. You understand? And of course, he wants to show how humble he is. See, the devil is a swine created in me, ain't that right? And he shows himself in the right of washing feet. Is that right? Now, the reason why Christ washed feet is because he so certain Moses took Aaron made that in the Bible to the David at the tabernacle and washed their feet, and he's going to so certain he's got one disciple. You understand? That's a fine law. This is symbolically native to the cross. You understand what I'm talking about? Now, here he comes up, saying it's not native to the cross, and he's celebrating. You understand? He's breaking down religious intolerance. You understand? And segregation. You understand what I'm talking about? You see what I mean? And he's sitting on Negro carnival over there, and he's in the rack, and he's showing how humble he is. He's saying, why he's going to wash the Negro feet. And went right one better, too. Yeah, he did one better. There wasn't a thing in that when they washed the disciples' feet as the lady that Moses kissed Aaron and made that in the Bible feet. See, the only kissing he got there was out there in the garden. You understand? He showed himself up there. You understand? So he is over there, shooting down, kissing that Negro's feet. Okay? So he's humble enough. He's dropping down. He's breaking down segregation. He's kissing that Negro's feet. Watching him kiss. You understand? And God always has a reaction to everything. Every time the devil does something, he messes it up. Ain't that right? So you can hear that Negro has to go to the hospital. He almost died. Now that's it too. That's it right there. That's it too. So that's what he Now then, that kind of died down, you understand? And understand? Before he comes over here now, there's no need to do over here, you understand? Money, you understand? He goes to one and makes another Negro. Get it down home. He's breaking down segregation in the South. You got more he failed to stack stuff at his side the second he come back from wanting him off. President Johnson, you understand? You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to protect their folk in this country. You can read down there in your Bible, but be bound. They say that you can bound. People are bound. And you know just as well as I do. They got us out of there from the Indians. You understand? And then went on put around there. That's right. Yeah. He said in the time of the Indians, we do for little people to go on that cancer thing out. They love sitting fire and come down. You don't think that is what that's really like every man? You see what I'm talking about? Now, when you see me say something fast, you know that the end is not. You understand? And you sit around all through the holidays, yakking around about what church you've gone to and all that, and what how we think. You understand? Talking about what the Roman Catholics have decided, and what the Brotherhood has decided about, and all this kind of thing. You understand what we stand for, and what we don't stand for. See, we don't stand for the truth. You understand? God was nothing, even nowhere. From the very creation of the world, God didn't say no more about the Jews than he did about the Gentiles. Yeah, they did. You see what I mean? And Jesus, that's the one who can impact it out of the truth. That God is no respecter of persons. He that doeth righteousness is much righteous I himself. This is everybody. We have to let you know who you are. So you say, is that right? And Israel was just as much of a son or Abraham or and God has told Abraham to make us and I don't know why God did that. You understand? Because all that he was raised, you understand, come out of that. That's it. So that's what he has to tell that. I mean, you understand? Has to tell that. Because every all faith that comes from that time, he's got to bless them all. So then that's what he got to tell him. This was, everything small and everything. You see? And there was none there that helped him lose the whole thing. So then the prophecy had to prophesy. This is come to you, Messiah, Johnson, both eyes, having the greatest thing. That hard by already 9 of terror, the night time. Like unto one that says the wine side alone in the first of the thing. But I that think they righteous, mighty to save, and with my own arm brought salvation down, and there is none looking to help. He hasn't have no help to reach today, and he don't need no help to save. There's always somebody has to find help God to do something. You see, what we need to do is learn something. Yeah. That's what we're after down here. You understand? Like the word, you know, Jesus said that he's going to give the keys to Peter. Whatsoever he bound on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatsoever he bound in heaven will be bound on earth. Well, let's say he said that. You understand? Now, here, what he was like a spirit, you understand? You see what I'm saying? If there is such a thing here, what is the key? What's the key? Not yet. What is the key? It isn't what the way he said it, not what the keys are. Yeah. Understand? Yes, sir. The Lord of the heart. They're interpreted by the Holy Ghost. And they're closed up every time. You see what I'm talking about? You're only closed. That's the reason why I said if it's not according to this word, you understand? It's because there's no light in it. You understand? You ain't got it.
And I told you to begin. Everything in Romans chapter 6 does is fine. Says from the promise, everything the Bible says is fine. Yes. You see? You understand? No, somebody says, really, would you buy it? How could you have your bank? And you understand? Understand the verse inside. And if you don't act like they think you should, they're going to put you out of church. See? That is where you get into. You see what I mean? Now, you're born in your family. Almost. You see what I mean? Is that right? Well, I ain't as much so as you were born in your family. You know the reason why you were born in your family that way? See, when you were born into the church of the body of the church, that's you were born in your family. See, you didn't join your family, did you? But if you don't join, you get the point? That's the way it is. Christ first on this rock, I built myself. No, I said you're going to send revenue behind it there. And that their deacons are that same cost they would have served tables. You understand now that you can tell them preacher what to do. See, we got everything all Christian. Nine parts of this whole. You understand? There's nothing right. You understand? And we're just making a mark out of it. Well, now down here we don't care. We're just going to tell you the truth like it is. Yeah. See? Somebody said, well, I'm going to get sore about it. Well, you get sore. See? So, well, I'm going with you, and I ain't coming back no more. That's a truth. We were telling the truth when you come here, and you will still be telling the truth as you go. How's that? Somebody said, well, I don't believe it, guys. It's supposed to. You're saying it, guys. You see what I mean? I hope you got something out of it. Have you got something out of it? The reason why we have to sort these decisions like this, because they got the idea, you know. Almost people just do these sensitivity just coming in passing by, you know. They say, look, what group is that? Do you belong to the Pentecostal? Or do you belong to the Baptist? Or do you belong to the Methodist? Or do you belong to the Presbyterian? You understand? What are you? That Paul says, the boys are not learning questions of God because they stir up strife. You understand? Now, you see, you're not even smart and wise enough to see if you ask a foolish question. As though Jesus Christ went around and established this church and that church and the other church. There was one church that anybody belongs to. You have asked me what church I belong to, ask me a foolish question like that. And you think that's smart. So it's not how stupid we are. You understand? You said, upon this rock I build my church. Right? And he said, no man goeth unto the Father but by me. Why? Because my Father is in me, and I'm in my Father. So no man goes. Hope, kindness, bishop, you understand? And of course that DD stands for something else. That doctor today, ain't that right? It also stands for something over there, an idea, something else. Trying to come over there and idea, something else. Yeah, I got to be behind my name. Laying down at the church, I said we were photo days. That's what we see that where we did it. It's a nice place to be. I don't believe you can spend any more in God than Sunday. And there is no better place on earth to go to than Sunday. Yes. You understand? So why don't you come on now? It don't make no difference how dumb you are and how smart you are. You understand? And there isn't anybody any better than y'all. You understand? But I really said I don't want to get too cool because I might just might pass out. Pass out in camp.
Yes, indeed, you won't pass out. It isn't wonderful. You have them to put in, tell them about sitting out. You don't need to settle for things. You understand? And you don't need to feel like, well, I've been so wrong that I can't do that. There isn't anybody around here that's done any wrong than what you used to say. You understand? Everybody around here has been just as wrong as you can ever be. Able to follow that, everybody. You understand? The 85 cycle is you understand? It's like cycle. It's good matches. Yeah, well, you call me good for it. Ain't nothing good but God. Ain't that right? They never employed all kinds of psychological things on here. Ain't that right? And they started asking, you know, it says this. And well, I didn't come to call the righteous, but I did not listen to what he said. Oh, Pharisees, we Pharisees, and counsel up there. I listen to that now. But I didn't come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. Oh, they said that ain't wrong. See, he ain't talking about it. Let's go on and see this. Let's take that. Let's take that. Let's take that. You know what I mean? That's the same thing he does find out. You understand? Why? You see? But I didn't come to call the righteous. So now I think they're looking back on that book. They know the story like it really was. Now, the prophet said there's no righteous, no, not one. No, every time he was talking about him. See, it's since they missed the focus entirely that they didn't know it. Ain't that right? If he was talking about them. Now, here's some time you got to be on the cross. Say, you got to be on the cross. And he goes back up there. And so, you know, sorry, and like the cross. We can't say it. You know, back up there, too. He told us the fact that now we're righteous, except you're righteous, see the other side, you can say, no, say, ain't that right? So now don't you be like him. You understand? Now you think about things. You know, so now he's got to get on the cross. You understand? Yeah. And he's got to make it. Yeah, he's got to make it on time, too. So he goes back up there and yeah, now, you know, now this is no drill. Yeah, now this is getting out there on the top of the Come on, boy. He's down right now. You do nothing. Ain't that right? How can you escape the damnation of hell? Ain't that right? Say, why you won't even let them this morning go in. No, then you have to talk to the other side. Ain't that right? And you look at him now. But now when they found out about he was talking about this, they destroyed. Said the way he was doing you understand? They didn't know that they were working right in the hands of the prophet. You see what I'm talking about? The ladies of the dominant in their church. They tell them that. You see what I'm talking about? And everybody's out there too. That's all I talk to other people. You see what I'm talking about? Now, what they have done is trying to prove the doctrine of this. Trying to prove it in and out of the Bible too. You understand? By nature and everything else, by you. You understand? We don't care how hard it is and how frustrated you are. You belong down here anyhow. And if you think you're real smart, you think you're all that much smarter than anybody else, let's see like Jesus was about. Ain't that right? I think something called the right to finish the thing. You understand? Because you didn't know that's been to conclude to you. You understand what I'm talking about? There's anybody got nothing to boast about. Nobody got nothing to brag about. There ain't any big eyes and big Jews in it. You understand? And God is a God that's running this universe and it's so talented. You can't obstruct him. You can't hinder. He's going to carry out his purpose just like he purposed it. Right? You see what I'm talking about? You don't feel him that you sitting around talking like you got the keys to this, you got the keys to that, and you are this, and you are that, and you are the other. You understand? No place false in his sight. Rise and let us go in.